Okay, somebody had asked me to do an oil change on this thing. It needs one. The bike's been sitting and I haven't done an oil change on it in probably a year and a half, over a year and a half, because like I said, it's been sitting about that long. And I had just done one probably 2 or 3 months before it sat. And, probably less than 1,000 miles on it. But like I said, it's been sitting. So I just took it out and rode it this morning. Felt good out. Wasn't nobody out yet. So fairly simple process. Oil drains up under, attached to the frame there. Let me show you that here. I really didn't plan on doing this today, but it's in there dicking around with the damn camera, and I'm not really tech savvy on that stuff, so I have to download some kind of app for it and use a QR code, something or other, and all kinds of crap like that. And it just pissed me off. I want to plug the damn thing in and have it work, not have to sit there and dick with it for 3 hours because I don't know what the hell I'm doing when it comes to that stuff. Much easier to come out here and get dirty and do something I know how to do. But you know what? I got to learn it. So, anyway, your oil drain hose is right here. It just clips onto the frame. It's got a little knob on the end of the frame. It's got a little hose clamp holding it on there. You're just going to loosen that hose clamp, pull this hose off, take the cap out of the oil tank, and let it drain. Let me pull this off here and we'll get it started. Okay, we got that drain there. We're just going to let it run out until it's done, and then I'm going to go ahead and pull the filter off there now. Okay, on the standard Harley filter, you use an actual oil filter wrench on there, but these are Napa filters, so the regular Harley wrench doesn't work, so I use these here. They're adjustable, and this thing shouldn't be extremely tight. Pop it on there, give it a little turn, couple of turns maybe, and we're going to let it drain down under an old dog bowl. Now, I was going to do the primary on this thing too, change primary fluid, but after riding it, I've ridden this bike like twice maybe, and I think car pulled out in front of him and he dropped it to avoid hitting the car, and the guy just looked at him and drove off. So, go figure. But after riding it this morning, it's definitely skipping in first gear. Not much. It's going to be going out, so I'm going to have to pull the transmission on this thing and see if it's got a bent shift fork. Sometimes what happens when it hits the ground, depending on what gear it's in, it'll jam that. It'll jam the shifter. It got the shifter on this thing because it's bent and it's missing the end of it's kind of ground off there. So it's probably got a bent shift fork. You need to take care of that before it actually takes that gear out. So I'm not going to be adjusting the primary chain or dumping the fluid on this thing yet until I address the transmission problem. But I was going to do a whole thing on doing like a 10K service on this thing, which I can explain it. It's fairly damn simple. 10K service, you're going to change the fork oil, which is jack the front end up, take the pressure off of it, pull the caps off, pull the drain screws on the back of the forks here. They're on the back, not on the bottom. And just let them drain and then fill it back up. It's a very simple process. On earlier models, you pull the wheel, 99 earlier models, you pull the wheels, pull the wheel bearings out, clean them, inspect them, repack them, replace the seals, front and rear. You're going to go through and tighten all the motor mounts. I've already done this on this bike. Starting at the back, and there's another video on it somewhere that I did. Do the back, do the front, do the top front, and then do the center. Just torque them, which you should be doing anyway. Big one, rear sprocket bolts. Nobody ever seems to check them, and they do come loose. it doesn't hurt to throw a damn wrench on them or a torque wrench and check them at least maybe once a year, depending on how much you ride. I'd say at least once a year is good. Unless you're doing a shitload of miles and doing crazy shit, and then you should check them more often. And the reason I say that is because I see guys all the time that have, sheared off pulley bolts, and it screws the wheel up, screws the pulley up, and that shit ain't cheap, man. Then you'll be buying a new wheel, buying a new pulley, and maybe a new belt as well, all because you didn't torque the pulley bolts. Swing arm bearings, they do need to be pulled out and checked. Not a lot, but figure, this bike's in fairly decent condition. Well, it wasn't when we got it. It was pretty much apart when we got it. But in fact, the guy, it's a good thing I actually checked the swing arm bearings on this thing because they had this frame powder coated and they powder coated the swing arm too. And when they did, they just slapped it back together with powder coating. They powder coated over the damn braces for the swing arm. So that shit was kind of crunchy in there when I when I had the wheel off and wanted to check the swing arm bearings. You moved the swing arm, but it wasn't right. So, pull those out, check them. Of course, check the charging system, check your battery cables. Steering head bearings are a big one. You're going to jack the front end up. Feel the steering head bearings. I've already done these because when he dropped it, it tweaked the whole front end. So everything looked crooked. It bent the bars, but it also tweaked the trees when it hit the ground. It twisted them, which it'll do. And luckily, nothing was bent. All we had to do was loosen up the front axle, loosen up the pinch bolts. And when I loosened up these pinch bolts up here, everything swung back into position, so nothing was bent. But, check your fenders. Just the way I do it. I do the service on the bike as far as the primary engine oil, torque, and all that. And then I'll start it on this side of the bike on my little cart here. And I'll start off the front end, just torque wrench and a handful of wrenches to start, torquing the damn brake disc bolts. Checking the front axle torque. Making sure that the front end's not tweaked up. What a lot of guys do is they'll take this, they'll throw the axle in there, tighten this side, they'll tighten that pinch bolt down on the fork there, and then they'll tighten the axle. And what it does is it binds this fork up because you didn't release the pressure on it, so that you've got axle sitting in here, and you done pulled it this way when you tighten the axle down, so you've actually bound the forks up. So when you're torquing the front axle, just remember to loosen the pinch bolt over on this side and then bounce front end up down a couple of times so that fork finds its position on the axle, and then tighten it down. Check your headlight, turn signals, all that crap. Tightness of the bars, all that stuff. Anyway, that's it for this oil change. I'm going to put this thing back together now, and we'll dump some oil in here. Okay. Now all I got is this chrome filter. So I'm going to use that. And I'm just using an Napa Gold filter. I don't know who makes them for Napa, but looks like it's probably high flow Filtro filter. They make like 90-something% or over 80% of the filters for motorsports in the world. I don't know where they're made. I think the company's out of Finland or somewhere like that, but I know they don't make them there. They probably make them in Thailand or something. Big multinational corporations. So we're just going to dump a little oil in the filter here. Smear a little oil on the O-ring there. Let's slap that puppy up in there. Oh, make sure that you got the old O-rings off of there. Sometimes the O-ring comes out of the old filter and sticks to the housing there, and then you're trying to put a new filter up against the old O-ring. So just till it touches, and then maybe a quarter turn, and that's it. And I'm just using, what am I using here? Napa oil, which is, I don't know who makes Napa oil, but I've been using it for years and everything. You know, Napa doesn't make the oil. It's like Harley doesn't make their own oil. You know, it's made by an oil company, so probably Sunoco or whoever, Shell, Sunoco, somebody. I am putting 2050 back in here. As hot as it's been there, I could probably get away with straight 50 weight, but I've already got 2050, so that's what I'm using. And regardless of what anybody says, you can run 50 weight in these. It's perfectly acceptable. In fact, Harley recommends 50 weight if it's over 80 degrees, I think. And it's good. It's as hot as these things get. You can a lot of them. You can use 50 weight in there. I don't know if you noticed on the Big Twins, they're going from using, recommend their synthetic in all 3 holes on the Big Twins, which I never really agree with at all. And if you notice, just recently they went back they come out with their own gear lube now for the transmission, which is actual gear lube, like heavyweight gear lube. It happened years ago. I had a customer that had 90 something. It was early 90s, so probably 93, 94, somewhere in there. But I don't know what year his bike was. 90s bike, could have been 90, 91, 92. But he had a engine noise, and he had pulled the filter off and looked at it, and it had some little square shavings in there up under the ridge of the filter, which is usually a rod bearing. But it wasn't rod bearing, it was the damn pinion bearings eating the hell out of the pinion bearings. So, you know, split the cases, split the flywheels down, pull the pinion gear off there, and the inner race on the crankshaft was just totally eat up. I mean, just eat slam up. So it needed to send the flywheel back to Harley because they had a pinion shaft rebuild program, which is basically you put a race on there, but then it has to be precision ground to fit once it's pressed on. And wasn't doing them at that time. Didn't have the equipment. So we just sent them back to Harley. And of course, this customer's screaming warranty because his bike ain't got a whole lot of miles on it. Had probably less than 40,000 miles. But what happened was Harley denied it because he didn't let me talk to him. He called customer service, and they were questioning him about what kind of oil he's using and all that. And he told them he's using Mobil 1, which is synthetic oil. So then somebody from Harley called me, and we were talking, and I'm like, well, he said, we're denying the warranty claim. I was like, why? Well, because he used synthetic oil in it. I was like, so what? I use synthetic oil on my race bike. He's like, you shouldn't. He goes into this big long speech of how Harleys aren't built to run synthetic oil, and it'll make the bearings skid, and it'll totally ruin the engine. And that didn't really make a lot of sense to me. But maybe that guy's smarter than I am, so who knows? Anyway, fast forward probably 10 years, and Harley's recommending synthetic oil and everything, regardless that it makes bearings skid, and because of that, I think that whoever I was talking to at Harley was just full of crap. But that's enough about that. Let's put this thing back together and dump some oil in it. Starting to get a little warm out here. And I got other crap to do. I wanted to fit the damn camera on this thing today, but the thing's giving me fits, man. Like I said, I'm not big on. I didn't grow up with all that tech stuff. You know, we were playing Errol Flynn sword fighting with car antennas when we were kids and using trash can lids as shields. We weren't on cell phones all damn day long playing games. We were outside playing games. Let me tell you something. Them old car antennas with the little steel balls on the top of them, man, those things hurt. I'll tell you that much right now. You get whacked with one of those things, it leaves a welt, buddy. Anyway, let me put this thing. We should be drained enough on here. I've been running my mouth here. I know this thing's drained. So let me pop this thing back on here. I just hope the hell my microphone's working. Put our drain hose back on there. You tighten this clamp up. Oh yeah, don't forget to check your tire pressure. Looks like this back one's a little slack, so there, I'm telling you to check it. Mine's damn near, looks like it's probably 10 pounds low. You stick around here long, you're going to hear some damn stories and opinions on stuff. I know a lot of people don't like that. They just want the information, but you know what? Information ain't free. You know, it's got to cost something. So the cost here is you get to listen to me rant on about crap. That's the price of admission. Okay, got our clamp back on there. Now, when you do this, you take this bike out and ride it for a while. I rode it around the block, which my block here is about 10 miles. And I rode it last night too. And the reason you're riding it, you get the oil hot because it drains better, but also it picks up any contaminants that are in there. And plus too, if you haven't ridden your bike at like highway speeds for a while, you know, the bottom end many sump fills up with oil. So if you check your oil tank and it looks like it's a quart low, it's probably in the bottom end. So you're going to need to ride the bike, get it hot, till it sucks all the oil up out of the bottom end at highway speeds, you know, not riding around the block. My block here is about 60 miles an hour, so. There were no cows out this morning. No dogs, none of that crap, so it was smooth sailing all the way around the block. Everybody's probably, well, I know they ain't sleeping in around here, but they're off doing their chores or whatever. Now, I know it says this takes 3 quarts, but don't put 3 quarts back in there just yet. It might hold 3 quarts, but start off, I'll put like 2.5 in here. And then run it, and then check it. And what you might find if your bike's blowing oil out the breather, out of the air cleaner at highway speeds, a lot of bikes won't do it normally, but you're going 75, 80, 90 miles an hour for extended periods of time. You'll notice you'll start huffing oil out the damn breathers, out of the air cleaner. On most of these things, starts doing that. All my starts, I'll do it as a matter of course. I'll run them probably about a half quart low. Then it'll quit slinging out the breather. A lot of people don't agree with that, but you know, you're not gonna clean your air filter and clean your breather system out, and if you're cool with having oil running down your pants leg, you know, keep filling it all the way up to the top. And it'll keep puffing out the breather. So that's 2 quarts right there. That's about 2.5. People have a way of overfilling these things like crazy, usually because they don't run it before they change the oil, or they see that it's empty. That's pretty common, especially on big twins, big twin like Evos and earlier. They look in the oil tank and it's like, man, there ain't no oil in there. So then they'll dump 2 quarts, 2.5, 3 quarts in there, and then when it does, it's all of a sudden it's got oil coming out of everywhere because you done overfilled it. But that's neither here nor there. Let me fire this thing up and we'll check it. Oil lights on. Oil lights off. Gonna let it run for a minute here. Move this. All right, let's go ahead and check this thing, see where oil level's at. Usually where I set it, let me see if I can show you here. I know you won't be able to see down in there, but I'll give you a rough idea where it should be or where I put it at. Where this filler neck goes down it, yeah, you can't see shit in there. Where this filler neck goes down in there, where the edge of it is, if you run your finger down in there, you'll feel where the edge of it is, where it ends, which is right about there. That's about usually where I put that's about usually where I fill it to, just right at the edge of that neck on the outside here. I guess you guys have a great day, man. Take care. Anyway, you guys have a great weekend and have a great 4th of July. And again, you guys, I appreciate everybody subscribing that's subscribed. I really do. I appreciate everybody watching that's been watching. Okay, everybody have a great 4th of July coming up. Stay safe. Be careful out there. Take care.